Yeah, so when you think about these like moments where you're dipping into like these low energy states like depression, right? That
Yeah,
can even that
right.
can last, you know, several days at a time.
Yeah,
Yeah, like one of the reasons is like, hey, when we are in a lower energy state, like your body is definitely going to be efficient. It's going to take the path of least resistance, right?
yeah,
So the path of least resistance includes just like what you've done before, right? So the familiar.
yeah.
Like doing new things
And
is
that's what
and learning new patterns is requires energy. And so it's like, yeah, if I get into this low energy state and I have a history of depression, it's like, well, it's gonna, then low energy state is more likely to put us into that mode because that's just what's familiar to the nervous system.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I recognize that it's a little tricky for that reason. But one thing that comes to mind when I'm thinking about this is like when we kind of repattern it, like this low energy state, um, like we can still do stuff in a low energy state that does begin to repattern it. So, it's like everyone's gonna be a little bit different in this regard, but like what feels really good while moving slow? Do we like to lay on our backs and listen to music? Do we like to get a coloring book? Do we like to just like sit by the beach or the river? It's like some of those things where you're like, okay, it doesn't take much energy to do these things. But like changing the environment, changing the context can be part of the shift. Right.
yeah,
So like the context is really important. The environment is really important in those areas. So like if you're like, yeah, I'm depressed and every time I'm depressed, I just like hang out in my room or, whatever it is, whatever the area is.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like making that one small shift. Yeah, I recognize that like a lot of those, like, yeah, like going into nature is like it's going to take a little bit of energy to get there, maybe.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like shifting the music, lighting a candle, some of those other sensory experiences can certainly shift that experience as well, right? Yeah, it just creates this opportunity for us to change. You're like, okay, your nervous system's like, okay, something new is going on here. So it's not gonna, necessarily jump right back into those old patterns quite as easily. So yeah, let's talk about energy. What are you saying?
or, yeah,
So really, yeah, we want to think about energy in its zoomed in view, right? Like what's happening at the cellular level, and then like that's all fine and dandy to know, but we also want to think about energy just as like how much energy do I have for activities throughout the day? What gives me energy? What takes energy away? So when we zoom in inside the cell, mitochondria is what produces energy, the energy currency. So you might remember from this was ingrained in my brain from I don't know high school biology or something like that. Some high school level class, which is mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right? So it's this little organelle that's producing energy, and so the energy currency is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So when we think about energy, it's like, yes, energy to run up a flight of stairs, energy to carry the groceries, energy to do push-ups. But what we're also talking about is energy at the most foundational level. So that is cellular repair, right? It's energy to move proteins around. It's energy for digestion. It's energy for really recovery, which is, that cellular repair, right? So, um, it's all these like little movements that happen underneath the microscope as we really zoom into the cellular level, right? And when we think about energy, one kind of important idea is our basal metabolic rate. So our basal metabolic rate, I like to think about as just like paying the bills. So each day, there's like so many calories that our body sort of burns up in our metabolism. It can be anywhere from like 12,000 calories to 18,000 calories or something like that. That's just paying the bills. So we know that the brain is uses a lot of those resources. It's about 20% of our energy per day. Digestion's about 10% per day. So it's like that's a given. We have to supply the body with enough calories in order to just keep the lights on, right? When we think about the mode that we're in, we know that the sympathetic state is like very energy heavy, right? For us to stay in this mode where we're vigilant, where we have a high level of arousal, preparedness, is just going to require more energy. So that state serves a certain function, right? Survival, make sure that we make it through tomorrow, right? So therein kind of lies like this anxiety and worry experience, right? Anxiety, by the way, is not a it's not a malfunction, right? Like it's like that's a built-in mechanism that we have to keep ourselves alive and prepared for tomorrow. If you have too much of it, if it's chronic, then like yeah, then it becomes an issue. In part because of what we're talking about here with this energy expenditure that it takes to be anxious, right? But it can really serve us in some contexts, right? So if we're obviously spending a lot of time in the sympathetic state, like we will need more energy. And the question is like, well, how do we get that? What's the supply and what's the demand, right? So the sympathetic experience, if we're in that mode, in that branch of the nervous system for a big part of the day, that's a very high demand. It's a very high demand. When we think about the supply side, what we have to consider is like, well, how do we produce this ATP, right? Because if your mitochondria are just like crushing it and you're producing as much ATP as you could ever use, like then it's not an issue. Like you'll be able to like run all of these functions, cellular repair, digestion. What we often see though is that when we look at the breath, as the breath changes in that state, it tends to change our breathing in a way that shifts us from an aerobic type of energy production to an anaerobic. So aerobic just means using oxygen, and anaerobic is without oxygen present. So our body has these different like pathways, these different like little factories you could think about that produce resources, ATP, the energy currency, in different ways. So when we think about these different pathways, there's really three, and I like to think about it in like track and field, like just running, because that's my background, and it times out pretty well. So when we think about our anaerobic pathways, we have two. One of which is it's like running a 100-meter dash, you know, around 10 seconds. Not that I'm run like we're not running it that fast, but when you think about like the top athletes, like it's about 10 seconds. And then the next one is like it's like a minute or two. So that's like a 400-meter dash, 400-meter run. That's one lap around the track. So both of those are anaerobic. And then once we go beyond that distance, Like, yes, we still have those anaerobic systems, but you have to tap into the aerobic system at some point. Otherwise, you're not going to be a very good distance runner, right? You're going to like fall on your face halfway through, whatever it is. So what we see is that the aerobic system, it produces more ATP per molecule of glucose and less byproduct. It's a factor of 16 times more efficient. So the anaerobic without oxygen is produces two units of ATP, whereas the aerobic produces 32, again with less waste product. So the anaerobic is like what you feel. So it's like pyruvate and lactic acid. So like if you sprint as hard as you can, and at some point you feel your legs like get really heavy, right? That's the function. That's kind of the experience of the anaerobic system. So yeah, not only do we produce more ATP, but less waste. So there's less cleanup, right? Requires less energy to flush things out. And when we look at the breathing component, remember that when we over breathe, we offload CO2. If we're breathing too fast, we offload CO2, and we need CO2 to make that exchange for oxygen to go into the cell. So if we don't have CO2, we breathe too fast, oxygen literally doesn't get into the cell, and then we're using that anaerobic system. So when we breathe slower, we allow the CO2 to build up. It allows for that exchange. Oxygen comes into the tissue. We then use our aerobic system, right? So I mentioned that because a lot of people they over breathe when they're doing simple things, right? Like they're just sitting on their phone. They're sitting while on their phone. The data, like the average, I think this is for Americans. So the average American is sitting for about 6 to 10 hours per day, 6 to 10 hours. And then the average phone use is like 4 to 6 hours per day. It's a ton. It is like a ton. We know that posture and breathing are really married together. Those are tied so that when we change our position, our breath is going to change. And so if we just imagine like, hey, if I'm sitting down and I'm on my phone, the way that we breathe is going to be shallow, usually over breathing. It's just more effortful to do that. So in that position, because it's mechanically inefficient, you have to use more effort to just do normal breathing. And then we layer on top that the over breathing, you're using more, or these people, I'll put myself in that category too. I'm not, guiltless. I still sit and look down at my phone sometimes. But when we're in that situation, more effort to breathe, mechanically speaking, plus the tendency to over breathe, right? It's anaerobic, so we're not getting as much energy, even though we're just sitting, right? And then I mentioned smartphones because when we're on social media, really any screen shifts us towards that sympathetic state, right? So we can start to see how a lot of these layers are just like, it's just stacking, right? Like all of these things, like each one in and of itself, maybe not so bad, you can kind of get away with it. But once you start to like compile these, plus multiply it day over, week over month over year, like then we start to see these issues arise, right? So people are just under-resourced. And what I mean by that is like they just don't have enough energy production, right? There's not enough ATP. And the mechanism that they're using is 16 times less efficient. Um, so yeah, hopefully we're kind of seeing the issue. Yeah. Is that all making sense so far?
Yeah, it's making sense.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. So that's kind of like I like to think about it as like, yeah, we're zoomed in on a cell. We kind of take like one step up. We're just looking at like the position, the maybe the specific thing that we're doing. It's like, well, it could just be sitting, but also like, yeah, how do we breathe when we start to like increase the strain, increase the load, right? I'm just carrying groceries into the house. Oh, I am walking up a hill, right?
Yeah,
Oh, I like I'm pulling clothes out of the washer and dryer. It takes me a couple, a minute, but I'm bent over, right? So like all of these things like kind of like tie in here, but it really is, it wouldn't be such a big deal if we weren't breathing 20,000 plus times per day, right? So that it becomes this multiplier. Because again, if I sit and look down at my phone for 10 minutes even, it's like, yes, it's going to have an effect. But that in and of itself, if you just like went off and like walked in the woods for half an hour after that, like not an issue, really not an issue. So that's kind of like the zoomed in stuff. That's the zoomed in stuff. Supply and demand, right? So that's a major demand on our system. We could certainly look to like other areas, but like that's probably one of the biggest ones that we see in today's world. And again, like I'm guilty of it. I still run part of my business through social media. It's like I kind of have to be on my phone for a little while. So how do we navigate that space? It's like, well, what's my posture while I'm doing it? Obviously the duration. And then if I just look at my breathing, it's going to give me information and give me this opportunity to change it, right? Okay, like my phone is off right now. It's like I could just, turn my screen down and just check in with my breathing. Like as soon as I kind of remove that visual stimulus, like I could practice bridging the gap for any of these activities, and that would be a pretty simple one for phone use. Right? It's like same position. I'm just looking at the black screen, checking with my breathing. How's it going? If I do that before I've been on my phone for a while or after I've done it, it's like I expect that to change. I expect that to change. But that can be this repatterning, right? So kind of back to what we were talking about earlier, it's like I'm just sitting. It's not a big energy demand. Why is my breath this way? Why am I breathing in such a way that's like arousal, very sympathetic driven, right? It's like, yeah, could I just start to breathe lower, slower, keep it through my nose in that instance? It's like the answer is usually yes, but again, it's just tougher because we're often slumped over. Yeah. Um, so the other thing I wanted to mention when we think about energy is we can do it in like really simple terms too. So like one exercise that I like to go through is just the the battery, right? If we think about our own battery, and this is like it's a rechargeable battery. So what replenishes the battery and then what drains the battery? And what's important to know here is that like it's a little bit different for everybody. So for instance, like I like to go to the beach, and when I do, I can just like sit there, play in the waves, like super replenishing for me. Like if I go do that, like it's really gonna give me energy. I feel my battery go up. But for other people, that's not the case. They don't like the beach for whatever reason. Like that would be depleting. They're like, oh, and the sand and the sun's a little too hot, and I have to put the sunscreen on. There are kids yelling. I don't know. So that's an instance where like it's gonna shift. Um, so what I think is a useful exercise, like what if we just go through things that are on the replenishing side for us? What are the things that are depleting? One that I talk about quite a bit is like washing dishes. I've been washing dishes, it was like one of my main chores when I was a kid. But in most instances, like that can be a replenishing activity for me if I just kind of change it. So this one actually kind of flips. There's like shoot, I have to wash the dishes and then I'm like rushing through it. Like that's really depleting. It feels very effortful. But then if I actually just like slow down and I'm just like, oh, here's all the, I really like this bowl or like I like this mug and I had coffee in it. I'm like thinking about um, the delicious food that I had and, the like gratitude that I have the food and the coffee and all these things. And I just kind of like appreciate it. Also, like the water feels really good to me. Like I love just kind of like playing in the water. I think about like times when I was a kid, we go to like the science places and they have like these like little water features and you're just kind of like playing around in it. It's like it's a little bit like that as an adult. So some instances, the dishwashing can be replenishing for me. Instead of doing these like 5 to 10 step protocols like okay, let's do the cold plunge, let's do the breath work, let's do the sauna, let's do the red light therapy. Like a lot of those things, like the way in which we do those has a massive impact on what it actually does for us. They're like, oh, I run 5 miles every week or something like that. And if you ask someone like, well, why are you doing that? It's like, well, my cardiologist told me that I should do it. So I just kind of like do it and I like kind of bite the bullet or whatever, take it like medicine, right? What type of effect is that having on that person's body if they're doing the thing, but it's also just draining their energy, right? So is there benefit there? Like, yeah, probably. But what is this like trade-off? If instead you're like, I like running when I'm chasing after a soccer ball, because I love to play soccer and that's really enjoyable for me. So people who usually play soccer, like, that's oftentimes more enjoyable and that's going to be on the replenishing side. So instead of doing the 5 step protocol or all of these things that like I'm kind of doing it just because like someone told me to or I heard it was healthy, like what if instead we look at the things on our replenishing side of our list and we just prioritize those things? Like, and what's usually the case for most of us, like when we make that list, there's way more on the depleting side than there is on the replenishing side, right? There's a lot on the depleting side, a lot of things that we don't want to do. But if we just start to gear our daily activities or these like once a week or once a month activities towards the things that just give you energy, right? The same energy that you feel there is the same energy that we're going to be creating for all these other functions of the body. Um, Yeah, so do you have any that come to mind for like some obvious like replenishing ones, especially ones that like that you maybe haven't done in a while?
Um, reading,
Yeah, reading
reading
books.
books. Yeah. Um, listening to books, exercise. I haven't done that in a while though because I've been so sick.
Hmm.
Um, well, I shouldn't say in a while, but I'm doing it like twice a week. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if I feel okay, I got enough energy to okay, I last 20 minutes. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Uh,
So you do
but
enjoy exercising?
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, cool.
I always have. It's just I get sad that I've been sick for this dang infection for 2 months. Like I want to exercise, but every time I do, and I like to push it is the problem. So if I don't
Mm.
stop myself before I push it, then I feel worse because of what's going on up
Yeah,
here. So I have to stop myself from pushing it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Would you say that like working out is enjoyable up to a point?
to a point. Like
Yeah, like when you start pushing it, like do you still enjoy it?
most of the time, yeah, because I get like this rush,
Yeah,
like adrenaline rush. Does that make sense?
yeah,
I might like collapse after, like, uh, you know.
yeah.
But I guess that's part of what I enjoy is that adrenaline rush, like when I'm pushing it. Cause like yeah, I can exercise easy, do a couple pull-ups, do a couple push-ups, do some curls, whatever. It feels good, but it doesn't give me that big rush, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
cool.
hiking, I haven't been doing that in forever, you know?
Hmm.
That's always been a good replenishing thing. Cause I'm outside, you're in a forest, you're gonna be there for a couple hours, you're just walking, and you can walk fast, you can walk slow. If it gets steep, well, then your heart's gonna start racing,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all
Um,
kind of, it's like a mood thing, it's like, how am I feeling? How fast? What's my mood right now? Yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really common one for people, but probably not for everybody. I don't think everybody loves nature walks. Like, oh, there's
yeah,
bugs out here, or I don't know, like whatever they're like, it's kind of dirty. I actually had an experience, this was like 2 weekends ago, where I was just really tired. Like I kind of hit a bit of a dip and I went for a walk, just like shuffling my feet. It was like the slowest I've ever moved walking.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, this is kind of me today. And it was both like, I think about like physical tiredness and mental tiredness.
hmm,
It was both. Yeah, it was both. And there was like a moment, especially like early on, to kind of like break the inertia and create some momentum. Like I was kind of whiny, just like I don't really wanna. Like even though
yeah,
like it's a beautiful day and like the scenery is wonderful, like there was still part of me that didn't want to be doing that. I was like, yeah, I'd rather like go lie down on a blanket. They're like, let's just like let's do the more like the picnic thing. I saw people just like sitting by the river and I was like, I kind of want to do that. But like lo and behold, like just little by little being okay with that pace, like it all started to come back online. If I contrast, definitely by the time I started the walk, the little hike, and the time that I
hmm,
finished, like two very different versions of myself, two very different Jareds.
yeah,
So it's like, yeah, that was clearly still replenishing for me. It required some of this, like, again, breaking the inertia, like, to do it. Um, so yeah, sometimes there is like a little bit of like you need to squeeze out that last little bit of like energy or motivation that you have to just like get started. But then like once you have some momentum, like you end up with more. So it's a net positive on
yeah,
on on the energy, on the battery. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably true with anything. I mentioned like, coloring book. It's like, well, you still have to get it out.
yeah,
Sit down, have the place to do it. Um, right? There's always like a little bit to initiate it.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's usually net positive, even in those super low energy states. You can kind of, I think about like uh so growing up, I think my dad still does this, but like he falls asleep in the recliner in the living room. And then when he's like in this in-between state, like maybe he goes to the bed, maybe he goes to the bathroom, but he kind of just like it's like half eyes closed and he's sort of like stumbling, like walking
yeah,
like a zombie, like type of thing. It's like you can actually kind of tap into that. That mode is like, here's how I would kind of move if I was really tired,
yeah,
right? You can sort of operate in a way that's like just chugging along just a little bit. As opposed to like, oh, I have to get like awake to like go walk from here to there type of thing.
yeah,
So yeah, I usually think about that too. Like I tap into that type of energy in my morning time routine. If I don't have to rush out the door, obviously, like if I have a little bit of time for this build up,
yeah,
then it's like nice and slow. I'm just kind of like, going through my routine. You know, ideally like most of which is the same. And then some things like, yeah, I'll, get the coffee going or I'll boil some water. I usually do like pour some cold water from the pitcher, add in some salt, these types of things.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like moving like this here, just like my dad, zombie mode, when he's like making his way to the bedroom. Um,
That's
and then like that little momentum feels a lot like that little walk, that little hike I did, where it's just like, okay, little by little, it has like a similar effect, similar type of experience. I know that my nervous system is gonna create this arousal. I know it's coming, and I don't have to rush it. I don't have to rush it. We can kind of just like stay, like become more comfortable with
mm,
that mode where we're not like totally with it yet. Like we're not um there's not as much control, I would say. Like, because when you're alert, it's like, oh yeah, we're like productive and you have a lot of control. So there's a little bit of like surrender to it as well.
yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, I'm not there yet. If someone like asks me a question, I just kind of like
Give it a minute,
give it a
couple
yeah,
seconds.
like I'm gonna chew on it, and then when I'm ready, okay, I'll spit it out. Yeah, like that type
Gotcha.
of experience. Yeah, I don't have to like wake up and be like funny and charismatic and all of these things right away. Like I don't have to be super
Yeah.
clever, I don't have to be on the ball. Like that's not how the nervous system works. It's a very like, yeah,
Yeah.
trying to be that way all the time. Again, it's just like it's clearly energy expensive,
You can wake
like
up and be
that state.
grumpy for a little bit. like.
But even to that point, like for some people can be replenishing, some it
Yeah.
can be depleting, right? You go to a party with 30 new faces.
Yeah.
Is that
That's a lot.
depleting or energy giving? For my extrovert friends, they're like, "Oh yeah, let me talk to everybody and like I want to meet all these new people." They're like the Labrador Retriever energy. They'll have more energy because of that. But for the
Yeah.
introvert, it's like that's like they want to get out there as fast as possible. It's
Yeah.
like let me sit in the corner and just like eat my puppy chow,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So yeah, like they leave the party and they're just like, "Blah, I'm dead. Like I just want to go home and lay down now."
Yeah. Yeah. I get that
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like the context will, yeah, like it's so dependent. Like, um, I'm not all the way one way or the other on that continuum. So some instances I'm like, yeah, love being around like this group or this number of people. Like group size is a
Mhm.
big one.
Yeah.
In some of those settings, like yeah, like I feel super energized in that context, but then other groups very depleting. Like I really have to
Stay away from
kind
them.
of like turn up the charisma like more than I
Yeah.
would kind of naturally do or like but yeah,
I
even just
see.
like remembering new faces, new names, like that's usually energy depleting. When I started at the clinic, lots of new faces, coworkers and patients,
Yeah.
very depleting. Very, very depleting. Um, but already, in just a month's time, like it's already shifted. Like, some patients, especially like we're driving, like, if they're getting better, they're having a good time, I kind of get to like play this role as the
Yeah.
healthcare professional. Like I enjoy doing that. I genuinely enjoy doing that. So I'll leave the clinic like with more energy. But then I have to
Uh-huh.
document it. And, like that's one that like it's been really tough for me to find enjoyment in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if that's the case. Like I think that's just, maybe for most, like documenting isn't their favorite thing. But I also don't think it's impossible to find enjoyment in that process.
Yeah,
So it's something I'm working on. If I can make documenting more replenishing or at least
yeah,
less depleting.
yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I think enjoyment is kind of like an is one of the easiest like words to point at for this.
Hmm.
Like if you enjoy it, then there's a higher probability that that thing will be energizing for you, will replenish the battery.
Yeah,
And if you don't enjoy it, it's probably depleting.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But you mentioned, like working out, um, cold plunges, some of these things. Like, do I enjoy those? Like,
yeah, I
yes,
like that. I like
sometimes
doing
more than
cold plunges.
others. Yeah.
I wish I freaking didn't have the bias. I wish I had a chiller. I'd jump in there every single day, but it's hot now, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I love it. I'm gonna be honest, I love it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, I love it. But you know, Louisiana, it's hot.
Yeah.
I'll get a chiller one day. I'll get one with a chiller one day, and I'll be jumping in that every day.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's me. Maybe I just like extremes, kind of make me alive. That makes sense. Like, and I like that feeling.
Yeah.
Maybe, or if I feel like I'm dying, I feel like I'm alive. Like, work out super hard, you feel like you're dying. Oh, I feel alive. In this
Yeah.
cold water for like, maybe I feel like I'm dying, but I feel alive. Like these things remind me I'm alive. I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm
Yeah.
driving super fast. I might die, but I'm alive.
Yeah. Also, like challenging breath holds.
Yeah, same thing. Two
Yeah.
minutes plus. God, that's a
Yeah.
giant freaking caterpillar on my window.
Yeah. Let's see it.
How do I flip this? That's not flipping it. I flipped you. Okay,
Oh.
now what did I do? Oh
You
my
might just
God,
have to
where did
use
you
the
go?
front-facing camera.
Uh,
Yeah. I don't know if Zoom does that.
disappeared. What the heck? Hold on, Jared. Where did you go?
I'm here.
All I see is my calendar and stuff.
Oh. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
Lord. Yeah, I can hear you, but the
Okay.
video's gone. I don't know how to get. Oh, back to meeting. Duh. Okay.
Yeah, speaking of
Uh,
animal encounters, I don't know if you could hear it, but there's a woodpecker that was on our house.
can you
And
see it?
oh, nice. Yeah. That's that is going to become a beautiful butterfly.
Yes, indeed. Now, how do I flip this back? Flip it. There we go. There we go. Got it. Yeah, it's a big boy. That'll sting you for sure. Touch it. Ouch, man. It's got full of spikes.
Yeah. Do you think it like kind of came down from the tree?
Yeah, one of those got me. I think one of these got me before as a kid. It itched like crazy.
Mm.
Yeah. It's big, dude. It's like maybe a little bigger than my thumb, like to here.
Yeah.
Like 2.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. A little
Wow.
over 2 inches. Yeah.
Yeah, it
It's gonna be a
reminds me of
big freaking butterfly, right?
like the Lion King when Timon and Pumbaa are slurping down some of the big bugs that they pulled out from underneath the log.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to put this dude on the tree because he's just gonna keep crawling on my car.
Yeah.
Yeah. it looks lost. I don't want it to crawl under this either. Here, let me put it. Let me. I don't want it to crawl under the hood and die. Let me move
Yeah.
it.
All right. Yeah, we'll stop the recording and go ahead and do it.
All right, sorry, man. It's just
Yeah, that's okay.